The Butterfly Girl is a novel, like all my novels. It is inspired by my own life experience, which makes things very easy to research, I have to say. Not just my day work. I've worked in public defense now for over a decade. And as mentioned, for over 20 years, I've been a foster and adoptive parent. I adopted 3 kids from foster care, and I've fostered others here in the neighborhood. But also my history. I grew up very poor, and for a period of my time, I was actually homeless and lived as a homeless child in the streets of downtown Portland. And I spent most of my time in the downtown Portland library as a child. I have vivid memories of sitting at wooden tables on the 2nd floor, making stacks of books as the rain would kind of stream down the window. And I remember spending a birthday there in the downtown Portland library as a homeless kid. And for a long time, this history was actually something I think I was very ashamed of. You know, in our culture, if you survive certain things, and I had survived a great deal of abuse, I had survived trafficking. You know, when you're a little girl on the streets, there's only one way to survive. And I felt very ashamed about this, and I tried to hide it. You know, you get a lot of messages in our culture about things that are supposed to break you. But the thing is I don't feel broken. And I came out of all of that with a really fierce drive and dedication to help other kids like myself, which is why I went into the justice work and which is why I do the fostering and the adoption. And it's also why I write these stories. Because I want to write stories that aren't just about surviving, but there are stories about how we can help each other. And there are also stories about the other side and what happens in the after. And I really want to help spread the message that what happens in the after can be filled with joy. And it can be filled with a lot of love and healing and just a wonderful life, which is what I feel that I live here in St. John's when I'm walking my dog in the pouring rain. So what I'm going to do is, I tend to read pretty short. I'm just going to read a really brief section. One of the main characters in The Butterfly Girl is a little girl named Celia. Celia's 12 years old, and she's living on the streets of downtown Portland. You can tell how my experiences inspired the book. Celia believes that the butterflies are going to come save her. She has this really rich sense of imagination and retreats into a world of fantasy to survive her circumstances, which I think is actually one of the most powerful tools we can use. I often think that instead of resiliency, we should talk about imagination, because it's something that really can save all of us. So this is Celia reflecting about her time on the streets. Oh, the butterflies. It was like a chance. Once Celia had passed a shop up in a Tony highbrow neighborhood called the Pearl, or something equally stupid. What had her mom once said? It doesn't matter what color you paint a turd, Celia, it's still a turd. The shop had said magic in the window and spells, and Celia had been intrigued. But when she went inside and tried to smell the incense that cost $10, or look at the glass balls that turned out to be plastic, the woman clerk had made an expression that told Celia that she was the painted turd and told her to leave. Celia had stood outside for a long time then, thinking about magic and spells, just as she was now, getting ever more lost inside herself, only it wasn't lost. She was finding herself someplace deep in this warren of memories. She was tracing her steps backwards to the beginning. It was her most precious memory. She was very young, maybe 3. She was with her mother in a sunny meadow. It was the time of sweetness before her stepdad came. Her mother had her hands clasped over Celia's eyes, counting each breath like a measured small bell. 1, 2, 3. Look, Celia. She had opened her eyes and her mother lifted her hands and the bright came in. Oh. There they were all around them, bright as discs of color, circling like the spots of sun, a blue brighter than the sky, a sunshine yellow tipped with gold coming closer. Butterflies. The butterflies would always be there, Celia thought. Now, feeling her bottom against the curb where she was sitting, hearing the faint voices of the other street kids downtown, the gassy smell of exhaust growing distant. Remembering how she walked hand in hand with her mother through that meadow, and they saw one land on a purple flower. What's this one, Mama? A great spangled. Her mother had picked a dandelion and rubbed it under Celia's throat, laughing. But the yellow petals of the dandelion were no match for the yellow of the golden butterflies. The white of an eye could not be whiter than the butterfly whites, and no sky was a match for their iridescent blues. Celia was in a swoon. Tiny feckless feet on bird limbs, kind eyes that rotated, seeing all. Even Celia. Celia was not a monster that day. Where are you going, Mama? Time to go, sweetie. Celia had wanted her mother to stay. She had grabbed her hand. Now, sitting on the curb, her face slack with memory, Celia was unaware that her own hand was wide open and reaching out. But her mother was not there. So, thank you.